Good afternoon. I'd like to introduce you to the Corruption Investigation Office, the CIO, briefly today. The CIO was launched in January 2021 with the appointment of the first director, and I'm honored to be the first director. This is how I proceed. First, I'd like to introduce the corporate identity of the CIO, and then briefly discuss the establishment history of the CIO, and then talk about who we are and what we do. This is the CI of the CIO, the corporate identity. When you see this image, you can see two open arms supporting someone or something. That someone is, of course, the Korean public. I'd like to emphasize at this point that the CIO is the institution that supports and serves the Korean public. This image also represents two Korean alphabets, which is the first letter of the Korean alphabet, which is known as Hangul. King Sejong in the Joseon dynasty invented Hangul in mid-15th century. And as you can see, the left-hand side 기억 represents 국민, the Korean public in Korean. And the right-hand side 기억 represents 공수처, the CIO in Korean. So I can say that the Korean public and the CIO go hand in hand. The third meaning of this CI is that this image represents a tree with two branches stretching out to heaven. Heaven not with corruption, but with integrity. With this CI, the CIO's slogan is serving the nation by advancing justice and rewriting integrity. This is the brief history of the establishment of the CIO. The movement to establish CIO was begun in 1996 when a minister of welfare received a large sum of money at his house as a bribe, and a renowned NGO made a petition to establish a special agency to investigate and prosecute this kind of high corruption crimes in Korea's high officialdom. There had been many bills to introduce the CIO, but failed until the Moon Jae-in administration was launched. After Moon Jae-in was sworn in as Korean president in 2017, the Prosecution Reform Committee was organized in the Ministry of Justice. And that committee produced a bill, an act on the establishment and the operation of the CIO Act. And that act was revised and toned down by the task force team inside the Ministry of Justice and made itself a final bill which was passed in the Korean National Assembly in December 2019. And the CIO was finally launched in January 2021 with the appointment of the inaugural director, who is myself. This is who we are, the CIO. The CIO is an independent investigation and prosecution office against corruption crimes by high-level government officials in Korea. We are not under the supervision and direction of the Minister of Justice and the Korean President and Prime Minister's office or any other office in Korea. Our mission is to promote justice and integrity and public confidence by investigating and prosecuting corruption crimes in Korea. This is the organization chart of the CIO. As you can see, under the director and deputy director, there are 4 investigation teams. On your right-hand side and on your left-hand side, there is general staff. The CIO is a very small agency with only 23 prosecutors and 40 investigators and 20 general staff. And this is what we do under the CIO Act. This is the personal jurisdiction of the CIO. We have investigative jurisdiction over almost all high-ranking government officials in Korea. The Korean president and the prime minister and all the ministers and vice ministers of the Korean government under our jurisdiction. The Speaker of the National Assembly and all the members of the parliament are under our jurisdiction as well. As for the judiciary, Korea has 2 highest courts. One is the Korean Supreme Court and the other is the Constitutional Court. The Chief Justice and all the associate justices of the Korean Supreme Court are under our jurisdiction. The President and the justices of the Korean Constitutional Court are under our jurisdiction as well. As for the prosecution service, the Prosecutor General and all the prosecutors are under our jurisdiction as well. All the military generals and higher-level police officers are under our jurisdiction. High-ranking officials in local governments, such as the mayor of the Seoul metropolitan city, are under our jurisdiction. We also have prosecutorial jurisdiction over all the judges and all the prosecutors and high-level police officers. So we can say that we have a diversified jurisdiction. This is the subject matter jurisdiction of the CIO. A typical corruption crime is bribery, so all the bribery crimes are under our jurisdiction. Other than those office-related crimes, such as abandonment of duties, which is intentional abandonment of official duty, and abuse of power, abuse of authority, which is to force his or her subordinates to do what is not supposed to be done by abusing his or her official power, are under our jurisdiction. And divergence of official secrets and obstruction of public election and falsification of public documents and etc. are under our jurisdiction as well. And these are the violations of the special legislation under our jurisdiction, such as crimes violating the Attorney at Law Act and crimes violating the Political Funds Act and crimes violating the National Intelligence Service Act and similar kind crimes are under our jurisdiction. And these are the related crimes under our jurisdiction, which are our investigative and or prosecutorial jurisdiction. First, conspirators and aider and abettors are, of course, under our jurisdiction. And last but least, a crime which is found during our investigation and which is related to corruption crimes under the CIO Act is also our jurisdiction. I hope this video clip will help you better understand the CIO. Thank you for listening and have a great day. Thank you.